If you're ready for the 5-step process to get your first pull-up, this is the video for you, and we're starting right now. What's going on, everybody? DeMarco Crum here with the Strength with Purpose show, where I am here to help you become your strongest self and have a little bit of fun along the way. The pull-up is a fantastic exercise and trains many physical qualities at once. It's really a one-stop shop in regards to your physical training. From the top down, it works your grip, it works upper body, particularly with your biceps, your posterior delts, as well as your lats, your core, your lower body, your glutes, obliques. Everything really gets fired up and turned on when performing the pull-up properly, which we're going to get into today. So it's a wonderful movement, works on core stability, and it's also an impressive physical feat. And when I have clients that I work with that go from no pull-ups to one pull-up, and then always, once they hit that first one, they go beyond, it's just an amazing feeling. And it feels very much like they're the superhero that has run through their origin story and they've developed their abilities and they've come into their own. And it's really cool. It's just like they open that door into another world and the identity completely shifts when that happens. So that's just an empowering moment that I love to see happen with folks, and what I also hope for you. So the pull-up. It's awesome. The U.S. military uses this as part of their training programs and their physical assessments, and it does so many things like I just discussed. Now, before I get into the 5 steps, I want to get into a quick pre-test. And one thing that I learned, and I have to give a shout out to the coaches I learned it from. This was Dean Somerset and Tony Gentilcore. I took their hip and shoulder blueprint course a couple years ago, and in that course I learned a lot more about the shoulders and the shoulder blades and what the shoulders need to be able to do in order to perform movements like the pull-up, which is a vertical pull exercise, vertical pull movement pattern, as it's also called. And essentially the assessment that they taught me that I'm going to show you today is the overhead assessment. Is basically, can we get the arms into the position, the arms and shoulders into the position safely to be able to do the pull-up or any other types of movements for overhead work. And it's very simple. You can do it seated or standing. All you're gonna do, I like to do one arm at a time. You can take your arm, bring it up, try and bring it up by your bicep to your ear. So if you can touch bicep to ear without bringing the head over, without any kind of a compensation, kind of cheating to alternate pathway to get the task done. If we can get that arm up there and it's comfortable, there's no pain, there's no flaring pain or anything like that, that's a pretty good indication that your shoulders are healthy enough to do the movement. You can do both arms at the same time, kind of coming up, getting within that range there. And obviously you've got a little bit more range if you do one arm at a time. You can really isolate and focus on that side. So use that as that kind of pre-test. Do that while we're doing this video. Bring this arm up, take that bicep up by the ear. See if you have any kind of compensations that you're needing to perform in order to get into that position. If you are, check out some movements I have. I've got videos on Indian clubs, I've got videos on the T-spine opener, the rainbow, the snow angel, and other movements that are going to really open up your shoulders and your upper back. I will link those below for you to reference, I will get much more into the Indian clubs in the future, and I think you're going to love that. It's a wonderful movement practice that will really help immobilize your shoulders and really prepare you for overhead movements, pull-ups, overhead press, Turkish get-ups, and many other movements like that. So after performing that pre-test and making sure that your shoulders are good to go, they can flex into that position, into that overhead position comfortably, where we don't have to flare the ribs, you don't have to bring that head over to get the ear to touch the bicep, no compensations. Awesome, good to go. It's a really good indicator that your body, your shoulders in particular, are healthy and strong enough to be able to start training the movement. Now, it's very common to hop up onto a bar and just try to get after it. And I don't think that's necessarily the wrong way to do it, but I like to really focus on what happens under the bar before you get up to the bar. Because what happens is people get on the pull-up bar and it becomes this like fight or flight survival situation where you're just trying to not, you get into that, like, again, that fight or flight of like, I just don't want to die. It's funny, right? We get scared about stuff like that. It's new, it's something you've never done, and you get into that heightened state. So before you get up there, I want you to really think more so about that start position before you start actually pulling yourself up. A lot of people just get up there, they try to just use their arms. They're not thinking about their lats, they're not thinking about their shoulder blades or their core or their quads or their glutes or anything else, which we're gonna get into in these 5 steps. So what I want you to really focus on is that mindset. I want you to step up to that pull-up bar and try to step up to that bar with a place of intent a mindset of intent and not so much a mindset of fear. The cool thing is we can inoculate ourselves, right? Over time, we can repetitively expose ourselves to the stimulus, and then it becomes less and less scary as we do it. Training is a great way to do that, physical and mental training. I have clients. They start with me on day one. They've never been to a gym. They have no idea what anything is. They don't know what a set is or a rep is or any of that stuff, or the names of most of the movements. And then 3, 6, 12 months, a year, 2 years, etc. down the road, they're the expert and they've become the master. And a lot of times they actually end up outlifting me, which is an amazing moment. And it's truly empowering for me as a coach to see my students and clients kicking ass and taking over. So I love it. I love being bested by my clients. It's wonderful. So the first position we're going to talk about today is hanging. You've really got to get comfortable getting on the bar and hanging. So we've got to have the grip strength to do it. So we're going to talk more about that later on. But basically, I want you to learn for the first step, it's the hollow body hang. And it's not a dead hang. So the dead hang, we get on the bar and we're hanging and our kind of shoulders are sagging down and we're just focusing on a stretch. That's a great exercise. It's great for grip strength. It's great for kind of opening up the shoulders, getting a good stretch in the lats and the upper back. It's wonderful mobility and grip work. Fantastic. I think everyone should be doing that. That being said, when we're prepping you for the pull-up, we want to get you into that total body tension position where everything is lighting up and we're getting that whole body involved, ready to perform the pull-up. So with the hollow body hang, you're going to set yourself up on the pull-up bar. And before you even take your feet off the floor or step off the box, however which way you're setting yourself up on the bar to get your feet off the floor, I want you to anti-shrug or depress your scapulas, which is just a fancy way of saying pulling the shoulder blades down, packing your shoulders into place. And you'll see in the video, the B-roll video here, where my shoulders are up here. I'm going to pull those shoulders down. And when I'm doing that, first off, I'm stabilizing my shoulders, both of my shoulders in position. What's also happening is I'm activating my lats, those large muscles of the back that are responsible for so many movements and will give you trunk stability and increase your strength and power and just do so many wonderful things. With the pull-up, it's a prime mover in the pull-up. And people forget about that. They think about the arms, the biceps, and the rear delts, which are movers in the game as well. But we gotta pack those shoulders. So with that position, you're getting up on the pull-up bar, you're pulling those shoulders down, you're really engaging your abs, thinking about pulling your rib cage down to the belt buckle, you're squeezing your quads, extending those legs out like you're at the end of a knee extension exercise with both sides, and you're really just locking that whole body down. And you're getting that it's a hanging plank. It's a hanging hollow body hold. There's a position that you do it from the floor as well, where you lay down, your ribs come up, your legs come up, and then that lower back presses into the floor. It's the same thing that you're doing. You just happen to be doing it on a bar and you're hanging. So we have that grip component there. So that's your first step. That's your first movement that I want you to master. I want you to get on that bar and I want you to work up to the point where you can do a 30-second hang. Again, engaging that core, locking, really getting those quads, the glutes, the lats, the grip, everything fired up and locked in place. Breathing, beneath the shield, which is basically you're able to breathe, but maintaining that tension in your core. Not deep breaths like this, it's more maintaining that tension in there. So that's the first move that we're going to focus on. All right, move number 2, drill number 2, step number 2 is the scapular pull-ups. So I gave you a little sneak peek of this earlier. I mentioned the shoulders and the shoulder blades. And again, this is where we're really going to step things up and we're going to add another component in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of contradict what I just told you in the first drill, which is to not let your shoulders sag. Now we are going to let them sag, but we're going to then drop the shoulders back into place, doing this in an active manner. So you're going to get back up on that bar and you're going to let yourself sag, let those shoulders pull up, let yourself get that stretch in the lats, but then you're going to actively pull those shoulder blades down, activating the lats. They're going to slowly lower back into that start position, and then you're going to come back up and back down nice and slow. My preferred programmer for this is 3 to 4 sets of 3 to 5 reps. So slow, controlled tempo, pausing at the top, pausing at the bottom, not focusing on fast, explosive reps. We want to slowly build the strength, the resilience, and the tolerance of the shoulders in order to prepare them for the task of the pull-up. Because again, we're asking a lot of your body with this movement. There's a lot going on. You know, again, the grip, the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the lats, the core, the lower body. The whole body's involved when we do it this way. And this is the way that you can train the movement to become as strong as possible, but more importantly, as safe as possible, and to make you as the least amount of injury prone as possible. I'm not going to say completely prevent injury, because things will happen. That's a part of the iron game. I've been a lifter for 22 years. That's just a reality of the game. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. That being said, this will put you in the best position to be the most resilient, and when injuries do happen down the line, give you the ability to bounce back faster. All right, now that you've got the hollow body hang locked in, you've got the sets of 30 seconds, you're, not to say it's easy, but it's getting easier, you're getting more comfortable in that position. Again, we're not even thinking about pulling up yet, but you've got that down. You've got your 3 to 4 sets of 30-second holds, with of course plenty of rest in between. We've worked on those scapular pull-ups. You're getting that scapular motion going. You're pulling those shoulder blades down, packing the shoulders, activating the lats. Again, we're building the grip as we do this, right? You're spending more time on the bar. So we're inoculating ourselves, against that fear, which is wonderful. Now we get into negatives. This is where we actually go to the top position. You're gonna use a chair or a high box. Use something that's gonna get you in that start position. Now, the big mistake people make with this movement is they just jump up off of a box and then just drop themselves down really fast. There's no control, there's no intent. I really wanna stress intent. Have intent when you go into this movement and know what you're doing. And what we're going to focus on here is, again, before we even step off the box, I want you to get yourself in that start position, pull those shoulder blades down, really activate those lats, get that core lit up. And what I like to do, I do the 2-step method, which I call it. Basically, one foot comes out, then the other one. Not throwing both feet out, because when that happens, you'll start to swing. And that's going to fight against your ability to maintain control and stability. And that's what we don't want. We want control, we want tension, we want intent, we want stability. So that's just my little tip there. Pull those shoulder blades down, brace those abs really hard, and then 1, 2 with the feet, get yourself set. Then lower yourself down as slowly as you can into that locked out extended position. We're working just the negative here. So we're lowering ourselves down. When you hit that end range position at the bottom, put your foot back on the box, or simply drop back down and reset. We're not trying to pull ourselves up yet. We're just doing the negative. Same thing here as a scapular pull-up. I like to program this movement for 3 to 4 sets of 3 to 4 sets of 3 to 5 reps. I don't go super high volume here. I focus on tension, particularly time under tension, and control. Control is the key. You're gonna hear me talk about that over and over again, especially in future videos when I talk about other movements. So that is the next step. Again, step up there, pack those shoulder blades down, get those shoulder blades locked in. We're gonna 1, 2 with the feet and lower yourself down as slow as you can. I'm talking slow motion, as much control as possible, and just focus on control. All right, the next movement for you is now we're gonna get into band assisted pull-ups. And the reason that I have you do the other moves first is I want you to build a foundation. I want you to understand what we're focusing on as far as the shoulder blades, activating the lats, the grip, not just pulling with our arms, but using the lats, the shoulders, and the arms together, using them as a unit versus turning this into just a simple hanging bicep curl. And the core, getting the quads engaged and getting the whole body, that total body tension going on, to put you in the strongest position for this movement. So now that you have that foundation set, now we can have some fun. We can start doing pull-ups, and you can start really getting that empowering feeling from the training. So you're gonna select a band that's appropriate for you. Everyone's strength level is different. I always say go overboard with the bands, and you can always go back, because I've noticed this before with clients as well as myself, where sometimes you don't give yourself enough assistance, and then the movement is just too challenging, and it can be very disempowering, it can be very discouraging, and then you just kind of get out of it. You're just like, oh man, I suck at this, I'm never gonna get it, and you can get into that downward spiral. So I'm gonna tell you right now, go with a heavy band, and if you get on there and you feel like you're the Wile E. Coyote, getting launched on the rocket with the rubber band, then we can of course always go with a smaller band, a lighter band. No big shocker here. The thicker bands are going to give you more assistance. The thinner bands are going to give you less assistance, right? More tension. In this regard, the additional tension is helping you, right? Versus when we're doing a band resisted exercise like a bench press or a push-up, or a band resisted pull-up, which is an advanced variation of the move. So again, here we're going to do 3 to 4 sets. I like to go into that 5 to 10 rep range. Enough volume to where we can start to really get a good training stimulus. We're building up that strength and that endurance and practicing the move, getting that practice in that we need. And again, everything's the same. I recommend having a coach or a friend help you set the bands up if you can. If you don't have that option available to you, just do your best. Basically you're gonna have to step in, get that first foot set, and then set the second foot in, then get your hands up. It can be a little awkward. Much easier if you have a lifting partner or a coach that can set it up for you. But after you get your feet in there, everything is the same. You're gonna pack those shoulder blades, you're gonna pull those shoulder blades down, depress the scapulas, as I said before, activating the lats. Abs are tight, quads are tight, full body, and then we're gonna pull with intent. We're gonna pull the shoulder blades down, we're gonna activate lats, delts, biceps, pull yourself up. Get to where your chin is just above the pull-up bar. Ideally, maybe even a little bit higher if you can. But again, I'm not gonna sit here and split hairs with you on that. If you get at least 90 degrees in the elbows. If you can get more, that's awesome. In fact, if you're struggling just to get to 90, that means you need a thicker, a heavier band. So give yourself that additional assistance. Think of it as a temporary training wheel. They're eventually going to go away and you're going to get to the point where you're doing full reps with just your body weight. So just trust the process. But anyways, get to where you're getting that full range of motion, get up as high as you can. We're going to get that full range of motion down. I recommend a slight pause at the bottom for 2 reasons. Number 1 reason, it's safer on the shoulders. You're not having that jarring force on the shoulders when you're dropping down really fast. And we're training the strength and the endurance of the movement, and we're not using momentum to perform a bunch of reps. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes when you want to test out your reps, I have a video where I just did a specialty pull-up program, and I watched the video afterwards, and I did get 20 pull-ups, but they weren't my best reps. I'm not going to lie. They were pretty decent, but I was definitely bouncing out of the bottom, and my height wasn't as good, particularly near those last 5 reps, as good as I had hoped. So again, just learn from my mistake and continue to obviously focus on movement quality over movement quantity. If you're doing that 3 to 4 sets, but you're only quote unquote getting 5 or 6 repetitions, but they're really solid A+ reps, that's awesome. Slowly build up to that 10 rep count. And that's just a range. I mean, if everyone's different, some people are going to respond to the program differently. Some people are going to be, taking the bands away quicker and then progressing into full reps. Some people are going to need those bands longer. It's okay. It's your journey, and I want you to take the amount of time that you need in order to get to your goal. Getting that first pull up, and then being just like Neo in the Matrix, and you've become enlightened, you've become the one, and you're ready to take over and kick ass and defeat the agents. I mean, become your best self. All right, after you've got your hollow body hangs, you've got your scapular pull-ups, you've got your negatives, you've got your band assisted pull-ups, now we're gonna get up there and we're gonna attempt some repetitions without any assistance. And I should have mentioned this in the previous step, but I'm gonna mention it now. When you start off with that really heavy band that maybe is a little bit too easy for you, slowly work your way down to where you're using less and less band assistance. And there's 2 main ways to do this. The number 1 method is if you have a full gym with a bunch of bands, you can simply go from the thicker band slowly down to the thinner, smaller band. That's going to give you less assistance. The other method is you start with 2 feet in the band, and then you take 1 foot out as your first progression. And then your second progression would be you take the band to the knees. So we're shortening up that the length, and then we're actually going to be decreasing the amount of assistance that you're getting there. Now, once you do that, that takes out the part of the equation with the quad activation, and that's okay. I'm okay with that as long as we're focusing on the shoulder blades, packing the lats, and really continue to work activating the core. Because again, these are temporary training aids that we're using, temporary tools. And again, these still count as pull-ups, by the way. I don't ever want to hear somebody tell you that it's cheating or it's not doing real reps. No, it is scaling the movement to the level that you are at. Okay, and don't get me started on the whole girl push-ups bullshit about doing it from your knees and how that's how girls do it. That's I hate that. I'm not a fan of that type of language and that type of mentality in regards to fitness. I think strength is for everyone, and everything can be scaled to your ability. So thanks for listening to my TED Talk on that. So anyways, there you have it. Those are the 5 steps. Just to give you a quick recap, the pre-test is that overhead mobility test, that shoulder flexion. Can we get that arm up? can we get that bicep to that ear without any pain or serious mobility restrictions or limitations? If the answer is yes, awesome, we can move along. You've got your hollow body hangs, you've got your scapular pull-ups, you've got your negatives, you've got your band-assisted pull-ups, and then you've got those full reps where we're doing partial reps to full reps. Ideally we're going to get at least to 90 degrees, or more. Obviously, when we get the full, the unassisted reps in. If we're not there yet, it's okay. Just practice, and you'll get better. I recommend anywhere from 2 to 3 training sessions a week, focusing on this. Some kind of a combination of these movements is great. You can take one movement and say, I'm going to master this one first. I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times a week for the next, say, 4 to 6 weeks. And then the next drill, the next drill, the next drill. Think of them as building blocks towards that pull-up. So that's a great way to do it. I've used that before with high levels of success with many clients. Some accessory exercises that would actually help you along the way, help accelerate the process are you've got heavy curls. I'm a huge fan of heavy curls because, again, the biceps are an important factor with the pull-up. I know I talked a lot about the lats, I talked about the posterior delts, I talked about moving the shoulder blades, the core, all that stuff, the grip. But the biceps are still an important player in the game. And they can be a limiting factor, as of course can be grip. So heavy dumbbell curls, heavy barbell curls, again, getting that stretch position at the bottom, really getting a good contraction at the top, and in particular emphasizing like an explosive concentric, an explosive lifting of the weight followed by a controlled lowering of the weight, versus just dropping down. That explosive lift, that slow controlled lowering, that combination will really help prep and prime your body for the pull-up and train that upper body strength for the pull-up. Huge big fan of reverse grip pull downs as well. You've got your traditional lat pull down machine, whether it's a cable or whether it's one of the lever machines. I'm a big fan of the reverse grip. I think that position's great. It really works on that bicep. Again, the same rules apply. Get that shoulder blade position down. So get in that kind of slack shoulder position, pull the shoulder blades down, brace the core, pull down, and really try to pull that bar down through the chest, really activate those lats and those posterior delts and biceps, and then lower, quote unquote, lower the weight, aka raise your hands up in a slow, controlled manner, not using the swinging, the leaning back swinging position that a lot of the bodybuilders, popularized in the 70s. Again, they had different goals. They were much more focused on hypertrophy. They were trying to win Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia contests. We're here just to get stronger, right, and be able to perform a movement. There's a little bit of a different emphasis there. So again, that's why I'm telling you focus on the control while doing the movement. So that's the main thing there. And farmer's carries, loaded carries, pick up a couple of kettlebells, pick up a couple of dumbbells, weight plates, bags of sand, whatever you have lying around, and carry. Walk around for my go-to is typically like 30 to 60 seconds. Same thing here. Focus on packing those shoulders, pushing those shoulders down, activating the lats, and really packing that core. Really think about the rib cage down to belt buckle. Short core is another cue that I was taught by my coaches. Again, really bracing, breathing beneath the shield, just like I talked to you about before with the hollow body hang. And yeah, you'll be well along your way. You work in one of those drills and work in those accessory moves, and I have no doubt that in no time you will be able to hit your first pull-up. And by the way, if you follow this advice in this program and you get your first pull-up, please message me. In fact, I would love it if you actually sent me a video. I'd love to see it. And if you are struggling with it and need additional help, please reach out to me. Please comment on the video below. If something didn't make sense, please reach out. I would be more than happy to help serve you. And again, continue hopefully working to fulfill my mission, which is to help you become your strongest self and have a little fun along the way. Now, if you're watching this video, you want this was a bit of a refresh for you, and you're already to the point where you can do at least one pull-up, we can talk about the fighter pull-up plan, and that's actually in this next video that I will show you.